If people trust you, they have hope in you as well. And if they trust you and you make a mistake, they give excuses for you. But if they don't trust you, it doesn't matter how much you assure them of things, they will even doubt you. Trust cannot be commanded. It is acquired as a result of the consistency of the actions that you take. And even though where there is no vision, the people perish. When there is no trust, the vision perishes.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran. Welcoming you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News Television, the Springboard channel, and the Graphic Communications Group. So about this time of the year, governments, institutions, corporates, individuals, depending on who you are huddled in corners, having strategy sessions, reflecting on what to do as the year draws to a close and projecting into the new year. What should be the big issues that should define those conversations? How has this year trended? And what should we expect as we build up to the new year? These are some of the thoughts I'll be canvassing with my guest, who is very well placed to look into the proverbial crystal ball and tell us what to expect as we build up to the new year. My guest, my good friend, David Ofosu-Dorte, the founder and executive chairman of AB David Africa, a business law firm with footprint across Africa and beyond. David, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Albert.
How is life, family, health, and work?
Well, we can only be grateful to God for how far He's brought us. Yeah, and we are keeping well.
So, David, this is 2025, a year that, depending on who you ask, will be described in different ways. What will be your own personal reflection about how this year has gone from the point of governance and global economy, and then, of course, our nation, Ghana?
Well, Ghana, I would say hopeful, especially coming from 2022 in particular, which was the DDEP and the challenges that we had. Global front, I would say, still topsy-turvy. A lot of uncertainty on the globe. But of course, I must add that the greater the hope, the greater the risk of hope being dashed. And therefore, when hope is restored, it is important for those who are in charge to ensure that the hope is kept alive based on the actions that, they take. So in terms of the global economy, always evolving. What is important is what strategy you adopt to respond to it and how you manage to achieve your goals based on the hope and the visions that you have.
Once you mention hope here at Springboard, expect me to ask a few questions about hope.
Oh, okay.
But let me stay with your observations and say that in 2025, looking back, what will be, in your opinion, the big drivers, the big issues that happened, especially on the economic front?
I think first the change of government, the swearing in, and that itself naturally brings hope generally. I think the other things which come up on top of my mind are the national economic dialogue, the announcement of the 24-hour economy, the big push, the fact that the dollar for a significant period of time started depreciating and the cedi was appreciating is one thing. Interest rate also beginning to trend downwards, as well as treasury bill rates that trended downwards. So generally, from the economic front, these are where the or have been the highlights of 2025 so far. Yeah.
Let's talk about hope.
Okay.
How powerful is hope as an economic indicator? Is there any correlation between hope and economic opportunity?
I think it's strange that at times we downplay these simple soft skills or soft issues. The entire economy is about hope and confidence entirely. Look, when people are bullish that things are going to go well, they invest, and you say the economy is growing. At times, they invest even to the extent that they borrow money with the expectation that they will get higher returns on investments. That's how growth comes about. When they don't have hope, when they are despondent, when hope is low, it's economic downturn. So the whole issue about even the dollar CD fluctuation we talk about, when people are hopeful, they don't necessarily rush to buy dollar and save it. And the reverse, interest rate operates in the same way. When people are afraid, they respond in a particular way. So I think a lot has to do, but the economy has to do with hope. And I would have wished that our political leaders actually did a lot of things to boost our hope, so to speak. And these are not.
I was going to come to that. What are the drivers? What are the boosters that can shoot up or shore up the hope level in
I
the
don't know
system?
whether you've experienced this as a businessman yourself. If people trust you, they have hope in you as well. And if they trust you and you make a mistake, they give excuses for you. But if they don't trust you, it doesn't matter how much you assure them of things, they will even doubt you. So as you know, I do tweet very often, and one of my tweets I said, trust cannot be commanded. It is acquired as a result of the consistency of the actions that you take. And even though where there is no vision, the people perish. When there is no trust, the vision perishes. Now, the way to build hope in the people is to be transparent, to be consistent, and then people will then trust you. And when you give a word, even if you've not achieved it, you have a vision, you've not achieved it, they are hopeful that you are likely to achieve it. And you see that they rally towards achieving that goal, and each person contributes, his or her a portion for that goal to be achieved. And I think that is the way that politicians must approach it. You are a reverend, so let me say, I wish politicians were a bit more like reverends, not in terms of I'm not talking about the prophecy part of, of religion. Somehow religion gives you hope, including hope in the afterworld. I wish politicians would give us more hope in the present world.
I'll tell you what, Stephen Covey, in his book, The Speed of Trust, says that trust has a certain relationship with speed.
Yeah,
If people trust you, business gets done faster.
exactly.
And there's also a similar relationship with cost. This time, an inverse relationship. The higher the trust, the lower the cost of
That's
doing
true.
business. So essentially, it means that high trust means lower cost and faster speed of doing
Exactly.
business. I wanted to comment on that.
No, that's true. And my own business has lived with, it's a living proof of that. When customers trust you, they constantly return. There are customers we have had, clients who have been with us for 25 years plus, and they bring return business. As you know, for a lawyer, you don't advertise. So your only way of attracting a business is for you to be good to one client who then tells another client. And that's how people then return business. And you see that constantly, that trust in your business builds and helps you expand your client base. It's the same way, nature itself works. And I really agree with Steve Covey 100% on that. And I think we should focus a bit more on that. I'm sure you are no doubt aware that people like talking about Singapore. It's a society that thrives on trust. Somehow the way the leaders have led Singapore makes people believe in the leaders. So and they will deliver in their word. There was a recent video where the Singaporean leader at that time was talking about giving some amount of money for people to upgrade their skills in IT, etc. And I was telling somebody, if that same statement had been made in Ghana or another African country, people wouldn't believe it. But because it's being made by a Singapore Prime Minister, people believe it. Trust is really, really a way of thrusting you forward.
And it thrives on consistency.
Consistency. At times, we think that the trust can be commanded. You cannot command it. When you do it over and over and over, you can guarantee that Albert will do this and he will deliver. But if you did one, and then the next day you don't do it, and then you invite, will Albert do it? That's it. It's about the consistency of action. Yeah.
In the days when we used to have a live program in studio at Joy FM.
Mm-hmm.
It was very one of the days I'd lost a loved one, and I just given my word that I will be there every Sunday. And that day, it was tough. I sat in the studio. Once I entered the studio, I just forgot what I was going through, delivered the program, and then when I signed off, the tears just started flowing. And
Exactly.
then somebody
That.
sent me
Yeah.
a text and said,
Yeah.
"What I heard, is it true?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But I just felt
Yeah.
I had given my
Yeah.
commitment and I must keep
Yeah.
it. And you are saying that that is the pivot on which trust
Yes,
is
and
built.
again, let's talk about the economy, about the country. It's when politicians don't realize that trust is very important. They give a word and do something different. If you do something different, people then begin to doubt. And the higher the doubt of the populace, the lesser they rally around the vision. So vision to be delivered is not just stating that you want to attain. How you work continuously towards it. You showed up, notwithstanding the fact that there was a problem. Then people believe, and then you see they rally around it. So it enables you to liberate the energies of everybody. So if we have restored hope this year, which is what I believe, it's important for us to be consistent in whatever we want to deliver.
Stay with consistency. What happens when you clearly articulate a vision, a promise, and then subsequently you come to power and don't make any effort at all to deliver on it? And when people ask, you backtrack on what you said. Will that then be the reverse
That
situation?
that that is clearly inconsistency if you backtrack on what you said. Now, I have said that there are two types of leaders. Again, in one of my tweets, it shares my opinion of what I believe. There are two types of leaders, long and short. Leaders who keep their word, and leaders who find excuses to explain why they couldn't keep their word. It's that simple. So if you, as an example, you would want to deliver something every Sunday live in the studio, you keep your word. It doesn't mean that you really, really couldn't. Assuming there was some circumstances, let's say it had rained, there was flood, you couldn't. People will give excuses for you. I knew Albert would have been here, but for the flood. And those things should be rare once in a while. The problem with not keeping word is when you are consistently not keeping your word. So somehow in the mind, we draw a balance between the consistency with which you keep your word and the once in a while that you don't keep your word. And if you don't, they give excuses for you. But if you are constantly not keeping your word, even when you keep your word, they don't believe it.
So will this kind of trust also work in the same way with the donor community, the international partners, and all those that we rely on to keep
Not
our?
necessarily. I have a very different view about quote and unquote donor community and all that. My view about it is they have a firm policy, and it's not in their case not even a question of consistency. It goes beyond consistency. It's more of permanence. So between 1944, 1945, after the end of the World War, and now there has been one simple approach to development, and that is why we measure things like GDP and all those kind of things, which are policies that they have set cast in stone. So it goes beyond consistency, it's fixed. By consistency, I mean behavior. With World Bank, IMF, and the rest, I can predict how they will think. They will tell you macroeconomic challenges, debt to GDP ratio, etc., etc. I mean, if you want to be straight into that, some of these things are not the things I necessarily agree with. So let's take our return to IMF as an example. If your debt to GDP ratio goes beyond a certain point, you will go to IMF. It's not magic. So that is fixed. But when I talk about consistency, I'm talking about when we make a promise, when we say we will deliver. Let's assume that we decided not to go to IMF.
I was talking about debt repayment. I was talking about keeping to your
Oh,
commitments in terms of
on,
repaying
on,
your.
on, on that, Ghana has been consistent actually, except the last time. I think the last time that we had to go to IMF. What is one country that has always paid this debt, and it's one of our problems because we borrow so much, and because we are good at paying debt, we are spending all the money we collect, which we have used for growth, to service debt, and we don't mind borrowing. This is a typical African scenario. I mean, just yesterday, I was taking a look at Kenya's attempt to raise 1.5 billion with on the Eurobond market. two tranches of 750 million and I think another 750 million at about 7.5% and another one 8.3%. Good, but it signals to me a return to the borrowing spree. Can we have different ways of doing it? So Africa actually consistently pays its debt, and Ghana in particular. We defaulted, only on one occasion to the best of my knowledge. So, and that I will give an excuse for whatever it is that happened that made us do that. So I think I will not want to use ability to pay debt as a measurement of consistency.
Okay.
I would rather use the reverse. If we decide we want to cut costs, I expect us to cut costs, substantial costs, so that we don't need to borrow that amount of money, so we can reduce our borrowing. The more you borrow and the more you use the money you are generating to service debt, the debt you have to be able to grow. Unless we are borrowing and put the money in areas that we are going to return on investment so high that we will pay off. So I think we should have the right measurement regarding what it is that we want to be consistent about. And that's what I think. Incidentally, our politicians are more consistent about politics than about the economy.
Why?
I think we have had a society over the period where everything is politics. And because everything is politics, they know the temperature of the people and they know the mindset of the people. The more you can show that you delivered on a promise that is political, the likely you are to win or lose or retain power. That's how it is. And because politicians, by their nature, want to retain power, they focus on that. But at times, the hard things that we need to do, which will require the consistencies for growth, are such that if you do them, you will lose power. But you need to do them. You need to do them by showing that we need to go through that strife. And you do that by how consistent you are from the beginning, the challenges. And if the people build a trust in you over a 3-year period, you should be able to have a situation where they will say, okay, why don't we? And again, if you start early in your consistency, by your third year, the good results will begin to show. What happens is that at times we please the people from the beginning, and by the time we need to go for elections, rather is when we are having the hard times, and then we have to now do the things that we cannot afford to do.
If these are so cyclical,
So
why is it not easy to predict that this should be a better way to do it?
it is very cyclical. I've said this before. Anytime, one of the things that I find very amusing is when I hear they say this is Africa's fastest growing economy. Anytime I see that, I just smile. Just do this check. Any African country which has been described as the fastest growing economy, especially sub-Saharan Africa, in 3 to 5 years is back to IMF. It's that. So we have a 5 to 7 year cycle that we go to IMF, because it gives us that belief that because we are fast growing, we can borrow. But we miss the key things. It's a part of neoliberal thinking. GDP is not a good measurement of growth.
What is?
If anything at all, you should be measuring your gross national product, if anything. But I don't like to go so much into all this data and all the rest, because GDP is measuring everything that everybody is bringing in, producing here, and taking out. And that is why at times you see growth, but it's not reflecting in the pocket. I would rather look at the extent to which that we are bringing people out of poverty. That's a good way of measuring. Now, if you want to do that, then you have to be able to have data regarding people who are actually poor, and what is it that you have done to take them out of poverty. And you need to be able to describe the type of poverty that you want to bring them out. For example, if people don't have places in their homes to be able to go to the washroom, that's a sign of people being very depressed. And if those are the things you need to deal with, if education is your standard, if productivity, above all, for me, I think it's our biggest problem. People are not productive. How do we drive productivity? And in fact, if we focus on productivity, I had a chance to be talking to the government statistician about it. If we drop productivity, we will actually grow this economy much, much faster. And give me the opportunity to explain this a bit. It's one reason that I should say I paid a lot of attention to the government's policy of the 24-hour economy. I see it differently than I have heard many people describe. For me, it should be a productivity program. Largely it is, but a lot of the other commentators I hear talk about it, other than maybe the very top, don't see it as productivity. You see, the less productive a country is, the more demand outstrips supply. And if you have supply challenges, inflation will go up. It's not a complex issue. At times we make economics too complex. Now, what is productivity? My ability to produce more using less resources. So if you have a 24-hour economy, the closest I can come to is what China did. China came up with a policy called 996. It simply means you work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days in a week. And it was simple national campaign. Now, if we did 24-hour economy and we presented it in a way that it is everybody's business is liberated, your mind is liberated, you can choose to work 24 hours a day if your business is of that type. How will that work? It means, for example, you have to screw electricity tariff in such a way that those who work 24 hours in the evening may have a different reduced tariff. It means you have to do security. I've heard the president talk about that. If you are already producing at optimal, can you increase? Then we can take specific sectors where we decide that these sectors are where the shortages are. Food is one of them. The kind of things that actually create electricity is one of them. So if you take the consumer price index and you look at the kind of things that trigger inflation and you want to drop your inflation to single digits, which seem to be trending, but it's come before and gone up before. What you do is to consciously trigger these sectors. Let me give you another sector, two of them. The bauxite smelter, which is Valco, the iron and steel industry, the big ones are, but I don't want to mention specifically. Valco belongs to government, so I'm safe mentioning it. But some of them are employing over 10,000 workers. If you encourage these people with incentivized electricity tariff, targeted, and they are running 24/7, you are increasing productivity, you are making iron rods cheaper, you are making building materials cheaper. The likes of cement producers, these are the ones who cause the huge cost. And if we targeted them at 24/7, the rest can be liberated. Trotro, I don't need a policy for Trotro to run 24/7. So you then liberate and say, who is it who wants to change his running? That means you provide security for zones where people want to run 24/7.
Let me canvas two words: intentionality and then storytelling. In the light of what you just described, I'm going to run you through somewhere in the history of this country, and let's see how quickly you will identify what I'm going to describe. One nation, one people, one destiny. Oh, okay. You didn't let me continue. Total manpower, development, and deployment.
Yeah, the Charter of Redemption.
Look, I can pour the thing word for word from beginning to end.
You know, in terms of psyche change, Kutua Jampong did a fair bit up to a certain point until his regime, when I was in secondary school at that time, attempted the Unigov and all those problems came. But you know, every government has got its positive sides. So we should pick those positive sides. We still recite the pledge. It's Kutua Jampong who brought the pledge.
No, I'm just talking about the power of storytelling and the fact that something can be communicated so clearly that several years after, I still get it.
Yeah.
And I can repeat it. How big a tool is this? Because you're describing 996.
Yeah.
I've had instances of also trying to understand the 24-hour economy and struggling to get different interpretations from people who I think are well placed enough to help me understand it. But when you get the right person, you can see the passion with which they're explaining it, and you're like, but this sounds very solid. How are we not able to get this message down to the ordinary person in the way that has been done before in the past?
I think politics stands in our way in this country in many, many ways. So if somebody proposes a 24-hour economy and we can focus on its economic implications and the multiplier effect, it will help. But the moment political party commentators seize the space, then you see that because of lack of trust, the NDC people will say 24-hour economy, and the NDP people will say, oh, it's a hoax. And that kind of thing, then immediately, you know, a society which is not united. Let me recall one of my tweets. I said, if you cannot rally people around the vision, forget the vision. Because they will be divided and they will fight and destroy the vision. Unity is more important than gold. We miss these things. I've talked about trust. Unity is very, very important, and there are certain things around which you can unite. A policy that boosts productivity, if properly structured, even if it is proposed by, let's say, a politician, but technocrats are asked to now organize it, and we speak more about it, it will become a good policy.
We are trying to make some productive use of our time here in the studios as we reflect on the year 2025. And importantly, when I come back from the break, build up into the year 2026. My guest, David Ofosu-Dorte, he's a business lawyer. Is that a good description of what you do?
I'm more of a transaction.
You spend much of your time doing business transactions.
Yes.
Is that a fair description?
It is.
Founder and executive chairman of AB David Africa. David and I go way back, and today I got the privilege of getting him to come to our studios and help us to think about the nation we are building within the context of the global economy, what we should stop doing, what we should do more, and how we should possibly reposition ourselves if we want to be more productive. He says it's all about productivity. And so, among other things, he wants to use GNP and not GDP too much. Oh yeah, to measure growth. We'll talk about a bit more about the year 2026 when we come back. This is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program itself, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. We will take a break. When we come back, in the crystal ball, how does 2026 look like? And very importantly, what must you and I do to be on top or the crest of the wave? Please don't go away.
What will you do when you win big? With over 2 million Ghana cedis up for grabs, transact more than 100 Ghana cedis with your Momo app, and you could win daily, weekly, and monthly cash prizes, and 100,000 Ghana cedi grand prize. Bank transfers, POS, and third-party transactions also qualify. This promo runs in collaboration with the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
No stress. Submit your insurance claim online in just seconds on the Claims Express portal. Simply upload your national ID, cost estimates, pictures, and more to get started. Submit online, track progress, and get paid fast. Skip the paperwork and get back on the road with ease. Visit claimexpress.enterprisegroup.net.gh for easy claims and quick payouts with absolutely no stress.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Learn something new every week and be inspired by innovations, impact, and success stories of individuals making strides in the agricultural, agribusiness, technical, and vocational skill sectors on Ghana Grows Ejuma with Arabo Kumsin and Yabitha. Join us this and every Thursday on Facebook at 7 p.m. at Ghana Grows, also at Comfort Okran A and at Albert N.E. Okran. On Fridays at 4 p.m. on Joy 99.7 FM and on Sundays at 5:45 p.m. on TV3. Ghana Grows is an initiative of MasterCard Foundation in partnership with the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. If you are a young person and you want to be a part of our various interventions, call or WhatsApp Ghana Grows call center on 0308 255 775. Follow us on all our social media handles. Ghana Grows Ejuma. Hope Day.
Hi, this is Albert Okran, and it's a joy to report to you live from the Springboard Roadshow 2025 as we travel across the country. It's been amazing so far. Very revealing, very exciting, and very fulfilling, seeing thousands of young people converging around the themes of agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET. It's unbelievable to know that we have onboarded over 500,000 young people across the country onto the Ghana Growth Program. On Saturday, 22nd of November, we converge at UPSC Auditorium in Accra for the grand finale. Having done all 16 regions, it's going to be big, it's going to be huge, it's going to be informative as we open up all the opportunities that there are in these sectors for young people. If you are a young person, this is my invitation to you. Make it to UPSA. Let's find out what is available and let's move together. God bless you.
The Springboard Roadshow Foundation invites you, our cherished viewers and listeners, to share your experiences. We would like to know how these programs, Springboard Your Virtual University, Springboard Hangout with Comfort Okran, and Ghana Grows Ejuma have influenced you so far. We would like to know the lessons you've learned, how you have applied the lessons to your lives, and the differences these programs have made in your life so far. So call us to participate in this survey. Kindly call 0308 255 775. We look forward to hearing from you. Together, let's keep building. Ghana Goes Hope Day.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university. This is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, the collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. This is a conversation reflecting on 2025 and will about now be projecting into 2026 with my brother and my friend David Ofosu-Dorte. So far, some themes are beginning to emerge around concepts like hope, trust, transparency, consistency, and productivity. Which of these 5 words is strongly on your mind as you reflect on some of the thoughts that we've shared in the discussion so far? Send it to us on our social media handles. If you already are watching on YouTube or on Facebook, just type in which of these 5 words is really strongly on your mind as we reflect on the year that has gone by and on how we do things as a people. David is challenging us to rethink the way we do things, and I'll come back to David shortly. But talking about the Ghana Growth Program, let me announce that the grand finale of the Springboard Roadshow, huge, comes off on the 22nd of November, Saturday, 22nd November, at the UPSC Auditorium. Thousands of young people gathering to reflect on the year gone by and project into the future, especially looking for opportunities in agriculture, agribusiness, and the ATVET sectors. What they are saying is that they will not focus entirely on the formal sector of employment for jobs, but they will think outside these spaces and look for new opportunities. And I can tell you something, over the past 3 years, 500,000 plus young people have signed up to the program. And so as we travel across the country, are connecting with each one of them, inspiring them to stay within these sectors and build dignified and fulfilling work. It's just unbelievable, the success stories, and we'll be sharing them when we convene at UPSC. Young people who are inspired and who believe they can do big things for themselves and for this country. The number to call if you want to find out about the roadshow and about the Ghana Growth Program, 030-8255-775, 030-8255-775. It's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Make sure when the young people gather, the main speakers are young people. You must hear them talk. Youth Agency and Youth Voice. Also, the Enterprise Advantage tip for the day is, how do I sign up for the Enterprise Pension Plan? A pension plan is a requirement to ensure that at the end of the day, you have a comfortable retirement. Sign up by dialing *714 *333 hash. *714 *333 hash, or download the Enterprise Advantage app via Google or App Store to sign up. This is brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number 030-263-4704. Email info.trustees@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. David will convene on the 22nd of November with young people, and at every convening across the country, it's been unbelievable. For 3 years now, we've just been telling young people, listen, shift your attention a little. There's so much space in the agribusiness value chain. And many of them who otherwise had nothing to do are doing things, processing, research, agribusiness, and some of them unbelievable success stories. And we're just gathering them to give them energy and drive to go at it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you keep it up. You've always been doing this, and I mean, for young people, one of the advice I always give them is look for the unoccupied spaces.
Yeah.
There are a lot of spaces unoccupied. What is the point in competing with people in spaces which are full when there are a lot of unoccupied spaces? And an economy like this, there are so many unoccupied spaces. That is what drives growth. So what you are doing is really, really good for the nation.
A bit of blue ocean thinking.
Yeah, it's a blue ocean thing.
Yeah.
I'm a blue ocean believer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a bit, the blue ocean philosophy.
You know, when systems become entrenched, those who are leading it don't want to create space. But no matter how entrenched a system is, there is always something that is not being done. And let's even look at it from a nation. But the way that our minds get entrenched with systemic issues or the belief that we cannot move from is because we listen too much to the main news and pay too much attention to the main news.
Where should we listen?
No, we should listen to the main news, all right, but we should go beyond the main news and also listen to what is not the main news. Because remember, the main news is what people want to be the main news. I mean, we carry out research. You'll be surprised. As a law firm, we do quite a lot of research. And I'm not talking about research for clients, research for what is happening in the world and what it means to our clients. And that's why we do a lot of thought leadership sessions. In one of the research that we did, we were surprised that the growth in terms of investments in Africa has completely changed. It's no more coming from the West. I mean, I hear people talk about AGOA, for example. Good. But AGOA's value dropped by half by the time it was ending. And if you look at the fact that Trump, by his very nature, was not likely to renew AGOA, why couldn't we predict this and start looking for new markets? The markets are coming out of Asia. At the last fair in China, in Shansha, there were a lot of Ghanaian entities there trying to export clothes. Now, their prices were high. And the reason they couldn't sell a lot was because the production cost is high. And the production cost is high because our production input, for example, including electricity, is high.
Yeah.
So these are problems we need to solve. If we want to then increase wealth and reduce poverty, how do we produce clothes en mass and supply demand? And you just don't do it. How do you stimulate the thinking of Asians regarding the need to wear African fabric and African clothes? It's 260 billion of tariff-free demand, and it's not being met. Then we are still looking at AGOA. I don't understand. Why would I go in a red ocean when there's a blue ocean? So you have to look at where growth is coming from. But otherwise, if you turn on your main news every time, the main news you will hear is where growth is not coming from. Now, it's important for a nation to be strategic. It's important for corporate entities to be strategic. It's important for individuals to be strategic. And as I mean, it's a statement I didn't make, but I like quoting it. I don't know who made it. If you don't have a strategy, you're already part of somebody's strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually,
and talking about strategy,
yeah.
And this is the time where I want us to now begin to turn our attention to the coming year. It's habitual around this time of year, last quarter, for many organizations, institutions, as a nation, cabinet, and everything, to gather at strategy sessions, projecting into the new year. What should be on the menu? What should be in the content? What should be in? What should drive the strategy?
The problem I find with a lot of our strategists in this part of the world is that they develop their strategy only from what they've been taught in school or what is in books, which is they will do their what do you call it? Their assessment of the political environment, the economic environment, social, etc. They do the PESTEL as assessment. They will do the SWOT, etc. And then people will make suggestions. That's true. That's good, all right. But one of the things you should do for a strategy session is look at trends. And trends are things people observe as had to be happening. And don't take your trends from main news. It's just one of them. Yes, of course, there is fight in Gaza. We all know. But really, is that what is driving your strategy? If you're exporting to Israel or you're exporting to Gaza, then that's important for your strategy. But if that's not what you are doing, then you need to look at the factors which are driving your strategy and that you get from trends. So strategy for me must be a fit for purpose idea of where we want to, how we want to achieve what we want to achieve. So
let's do corporates. Where should corporates be looking at a time like this?
Again, there is no one size fit all. That is why I'm talking about fit for purpose. So it depends on what it is that the corporate. Let me take my organization, for example. My organization, we represent a lot of investors from all over the world investing in Africa. So we are a global law firm, but purely Africa focused. So you have to look at where is growth coming to in Africa. And when those in Africa who are investing in Africa, where is growth that you can point their attention to? So depending on the segment of your market, so for example, we don't practice criminal law, so I'm not interested in growth in crime, right? But I'm interested in growth in blue collar crime because it affects my businesses. So you look at all these trends and you see, for example, what is happening to those people who are having a identity theft and things like that, and what is in the trends in the law. And if you pointed out to your clients or you did a thought leadership on that, you are likely positioning yourself to attract clients in that regard. It's similar when I realized that trends is such that more investments is coming from Asia to Africa than let's say from the West. This
Must your skill building, your training, your developmental program follow these trends?
Strategy is everybody's responsibility, even though it must be led by those who are in charge of the organization. There must be certain principles. For example, if you are a blue ocean approach, then clearly you are looking for what it is that nobody else is doing because you want to distinguish yourself. And it is when you occupy those unoccupied spaces that you can drive growth before other people come. Some people call it the first mover advantage. I don't really believe in first mover advantage. I mean, it's a misnomer. But hey, when things are very popular, and you are not somebody who rides on that, it's difficult to challenge it. I believe in the person who occupies the mind first. So if you
can move first and not occupy the mind.
Yes, you can move first and not occupy the mind. I mean, you want an example? MTN is the biggest mobile company here. It was not the first in town, but they occupy the mind. And I can, if you recall, when they introduced the clip, the caller identification pin, a lot of people moved from then to MTN. But the graphic was one of the earliest newspapers, and it occupied their mind. So it depends on your strategies to be able to occupy their mind. And if you occupy their mind, you control the customer largely. So it's important to go to unoccupied spaces, and a strategies session should look at that. It's important that if you go to unoccupied spaces, you let people know the advantage of what is new that you are doing, and that you occupy their mind. And when you are occupying their mind, leading is not as important as keeping the lead when others are catching up, because others will catch up with you. So a strategy session should take a look at what is it that we want to do, what is it that is trending, and how does what is trending affect us? Because what is trending may be killing your business, because people don't allow you to succeed alone. Or what is trending may be showing you that there are some things that you are not doing. Or what is trending will show you that there are new opportunities that you are not occupying. But lastly, on that point, we should remember that there are three things when it comes to opportunity. And when you are looking at strategy or are doing strategy, or whether you are doing is trying to create a strategy for the corporate organization to attain a certain goal. There are those who react to things which are happening. There are those who are overtaken by things which are happening. And there are those who create what is happening. You need to find out which of these three that you belong to. Are you creating it? If you are creating it, then it must be unique. If you are creating what is already existing, then you are a me too. So you are going to compete in the bloody ocean. But if you are creating what doesn't exist, then you are occupying an unoccupied space. But if you are simply there, you are responding to, you are essentially keeping a break-even point and surviving in subsistence. So all these things you play on your mind. We make it look as if there is somebody who is imbued with strategy no, if you follow the principles and you think beyond short term, you should be able to evolve something that enables the organization become very unique.
How big is flexibility in adaptability? If you are so used to do something in a particular way, and really the trends are showing that thing is not going to get you there.
The trends are not necessarily positive or negative. It depends on what you want to achieve. And you have a goal, but flexibility is important because at times how you achieve the goal is what you need to be flexible about. And there are times it's important to change the goal. If
Yeah.
you think the goal doesn't really work, hey, there's nothing wrong with dropping a vision and creating a new vision. And you notice that if you're actually consistent and flexible in moving towards the goal, there are times that you achieve the goal faster, and you need to now extend the vision to a much bigger. But there's always room for improvement. So yes, being flexible is very important. Being adaptable is very important, but it depends on what you adapt. Because if you don't adapt very well, like people who adapt technology just because there is technology, the adaptation should be fit for purpose. It should fit what you are doing, and it should be achieving the goal that you have set for yourself.
So let's take you've addressed corporates. Give me one more thing for nation that you'd like to see us do in the year 2026.
Let me put it simply: implement on the basis of trust. If you are implementing without trust, you are not going to move forward. It's, nations don't fail because they lack vision. And let me take Ghana as an example. I'm not one of the people who believe that our leaders don't have vision. I don't know any single Ghanaian leader who has not had vision. If I take you through from beginning of Kwame Nkrumah all the way through to currently Big Push, everyone has a vision. We don't fail for lack of vision. We fail for abandoning the vision. No matter how hard you try, there will be unexpected circumstances. And if you notice, most of the time that we have economic challenges, we blame external forces. And those external forces, whether it is Ukraine war, whether it is COVID, whether it is IMF, whether it is global financial crisis, there will be unexpected. So the turbulence will occur, guaranteed. Between now and 2028, there will be turbulence from somewhere you don't expect. It always occurs. Now, it is a question of your resilience and your ability to put in place the systems that enable you to survive the resilience. And that resilience is when you continue to implement, notwithstanding those unexpected forces. So that is what I would recommend. If we don't do that, we will abandon the vision. Then you will see that something happens, and let me bring this out. There's quite a lot of hoax and deceptions in the system, especially from mainstream thinking. Let me take one. Debt to GDP ratio. The moment you hit 60, 70, you'll be scared. But you should be able to predict that this is likely what will happen. So it is not every turbulence which is not predictable. That's the point I'm trying to make. Mm-hmm. So if you know you live in a regime that is dependent on that, what do you do to prevent that? And again, time is too short for us to go into the strategies to prevent that. But the point I'm making is that we should be able to continue implementing, trusting, creating the trust that enables us to implement, that rallies and liberates energy for everybody to come around and help with the implementation. And notwithstanding the external circumstances, we should continue and be consistent in implementation.
That last point you made, we can do a whole show on just this last point. And it goes back to what I said earlier on about storytelling, intentionality, and then rallying. Yeah. I'm saying that when I memorized the national charter, it didn't matter whether I liked President or General Achampo or not. That was the national charter.
Yeah.
Operation Feed Yourself.
Exactly.
It was. Driving on the 4th August 1974, move from left to right.
Yeah.
These are things that are in your memory from your childhood because they are national programs that you participated in and it stayed with you.
Albert, just take a look at when Blasters is going to play.
Yes.
Especially when we are winning. Look at the way everybody's energy is liberated and the paraphernalia and everybody's. It's the same way we should do with national vision.
2006, I went to Germany for the World Cup. Charlie, walking out of the stadium, here was I walking next to people, I mean, doctors, senior people, multinational corporate CEOs. We were working from the stadium together. I turned and say, Prof, yeah, doctor, yeah. He said, yeah, we're all watching the ball.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. People waving flags. I was like, okay. Yeah. When it gets here, there's nothing like
unless we liberate
a
energies.
divided nation.
Yeah.
How can we translate that kind of unity, no matter who is in power, to backing the policies that we want to put in place to move our country forward, make it easier for us to live our lives? Can we ever get there?
We can. We have to make a conscious effort of liberating energies, and you don't do that by creating or by allowing the disunity to persist. The disunity persists when we think along political lines, and no nation progresses in disunity. So you have to rally around specific things. Is there anybody who doesn't want to create wealth, or is there anybody who doesn't want the nation to progress? No, the people may be coming from different angles. But if we get together, and it is the responsibility of a leader to do it, that's why I say that we should, and the media too is part of it, we should pay lesser attention to political communicators and let, once the vision has been set by a politician, allow more technocratic and intellectual approach to the discussion, shaped towards liberating the energies of people.
Drop two low-hanging fruits. Let's talk about optics. You've thought about using experts to communicate and not party communicators. What about optics? It doesn't matter when you see people cutting across the various parts of the divide on the stage when policy announcements are being made. Help me to appreciate.
So that's very important.
The
so
optics and how it helps.
So it is important.
Galvanize people.
Yes, it is. It is important that on some specific things we want to do, you bring 2-3 people together and say, this is how we want to achieve this particular goal. Recently, I had a talk with an organization which is seeking to push a particular agenda in the energy sector. This is a government organization, right? And luckily, I was addressing only technocrats. And I've told them that there's no way what they are trying to do should not be on the big push agenda. Currently, I don't find it. And they must find a way of pushing it there. But it's a long-term goal. I said, the way you need to do it is to ensure, first and foremost, bring some few traditional leaders instead of, I'm not a fan of palanquins and things like that. Instead of the festival and the rest, bring traditional leaders together with politicians and bring politicians on both sides. I say, can you invite the chairpersons of the 2 political parties, the general secretaries of the 2 political parties, and let them come together with the president, who is the current president, and say, this is what we want to do. This lasts beyond the life of every government. There's no government or country which doesn't want to increase its power sector. And you want to create a base load of gigawatts of power. And I'm talking about 20 gigawatts of power. That's how you industrialize. If you then do that, that optics is enough for somebody who is changed as a minister or a government to say, no, I'm going to discontinue this program, because it becomes a national program.
David, as a strategist, it is evident that considering the life cycle of any government, 4 years, you can't start from scratch and do anything significant in 4 years. So it's a continuum. How do we get ourselves to appreciate that it's not a zero-sum game? The person must not go down so that you start from base in every single
term. The radical recommendation I have cannot be attained, so I won't even go there. It's very radical. If I had the power to change the constitution, right, if I had the power, I would make the term of a president only 1 year.
Why?
Only one, yes. And quote and unquote, Switzerland has a similar system. So you have a committee of 7 in the cantons who form the presidency. And every 1 year, one person is a chair.
Okay.
If I were to ask you today who is the president of Switzerland, you can't tell me.
Yeah.
Most people can't tell, because it becomes insignificant, right? So if you had a 1 year term presidency, and this is the extreme I'm talking about, but it cannot be attained, I would do simply 2 things. In the first election, we will elect 2 presidents. The one who will serve for 1 year and the one who will succeed him. So every year we will just vote. So as you are in power, you know the one who is going to succeed you. And then, so that way, systems will work, because you don't have enough time. So in order to achieve the goal, we should separate political goals from national goals. National goals are the ones which are long-term. And those national goals, That's when you rally everybody together and say, we have both agreed that we want to do this. Is it doable? Yes. But are you aware that NDC and NPP come together at times? You don't know. Let me give you an example. When they wanted to divide the nation into more regions, they came together. They both campaigned that they want us to, and they come together when it comes to sports. They also come together when they have to increase parliamentary allowances. So there are times they do come together.
So we should create more such movements.
Yes, to come together on some of these things. Big push, if properly structured in terms of the bigger goals we want to attain, they should be able to come together on it. Each of them wants to do something big. You do it for your 4-year term or 8-year term. Somebody comes to continue. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, we can rally.
I guess the nomenclature would make it sound like, and it's evident sometimes that after one has gone, the other one has come. Even when you are doing it well, they say, but this we started it.
Yeah, but that comes from the political commentators, which I have talked about. So the media too must help. We must consciously allow more technocrats, more of the core public servants to talk, because they are the ones who implement the policy. We should allow them to shape the policy more and more. The politicians have just set the agenda and set the vision and pay less and less attention to. I don't know whether the media gets much more money when political commentators talk, because the adverts, I don't have an idea. But if it is, we need to do something about it. Yeah.
We can't sign off without talking to the individual. I know that when the systems are in place, when we are united, when the bottlenecks are removed, when strategy at the national and organizational level is on point, the individual has better space to maneuver. But David, once we gather to talk about the year that is drawing to a close and the new year that is coming, we owe it to individuals to speak directly to them. And I think it's a good moment to just look in camera and talk to the individual who's asking themselves, so in the face of all this, is there any hope for me? We started with hope. Let's end with hope.
I think there's a lot of hope for all of us, but hope is not conjured. Hope comes out of being consistent in what you are doing. And it doesn't matter how much you are hopeful in doing, there will be things which will disrupt you, there will be challenges. But it is important to recognize that the challenges are often temporary. And once you continue and persist in what you seek to do, definitely those challenges can be overcome. There are many living examples, and I encourage all of us to be very hopeful in the coming year.
I'm very hopeful, David, that in the coming year you will come back to the studios of Springboard once again for us to measure how far we've gone and then see how well we are adapting some of these unique ideas.
It will be my pleasure.
Yes, it will be another great time to have together.
It will be my pleasure.
Right. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So this has been a very thought-provoking edition of Springboard Virtual University with my friend David Ofosu-Dorte, just helping us to understand some of the building blocks of what I may want to call the good society. See, things like trust, things like hope, things like transparency, things like consistency. And he says at the base of it all, productivity. And we should gather as a united force around key things that help all of us and not just divide ourselves, because really in dividing ourselves, we can progress no matter how hopeful we are. So we should strategize in unity, something around those terms. So those are the thoughts of David Ofosu-Dorte. What do you think? Where have we gotten it wrong and how can we get it right? What contribution would you like to make to this new or good society that we are canvassing in this conversation? Share your thoughts on social media and let's all reflect on how we can enter the new year stronger, better, and more able to attain our aspirations. This has been brought to you by Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. A reminder that we will meet at UPSC Auditorium on Saturday, the 22nd of November for the national convocation, the grand climax of the 16 region tour, the Springboard Roadshow 2025. It's a huge convening of young people reflecting on opportunities in agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET. Make sure you are there. And if you have questions and you would like to find out what to do, where to go, attendance is absolutely free, and the number to call for details 030-8255-775. My name is Albert Okran. saying God bless you, and God bless you.